All right, good morning, everyone. We're live. We got Joel Farrell, Lending for Entrepreneurs, Strive for 25, and we got Donato Callahan here from Bright Investors. So it's been a while, man. So how's everything going?
It's been great. It's been great. We are working with more coaching programs to sign some pretty big partnerships to do some bundle opportunities. We are working with two of the largest property management franchises in the U.S. right now to incorporate BI into their entire process, which is great. We've been launching our Bright Investor Diamond program, helping people buy properties and kind of get over that analysis paralysis, which has been really cool. We have several offers going out with students right now, which has been fantastic. And yeah, it's been a really cool journey. So great couple months.
Yeah, some people are kind of new to my channel. So why don't you maybe quickly give a quick recap what Bright Investor is and what kind of services it offers people?
Yeah, so Bright Investor is a platform to basically turn properties into profits via finding off-market opportunities, running your sales comps and rent comps, figuring out what the deal's numbers might look like, and researching your markets anywhere in the U.S. So with free skip tracing, with free customizable white labeled reports, it's the fastest place to find deals, create content to raise money, run your analysis, do your numbers, and basically do that anywhere in the country.
All right, perfect. So if anyone hasn't checked it out, I did put the link to the Instagram page and Donato's channel, Joel's channel. So go check them out, subscribe, follow them, and quickly, I believe I got an email today. There's a coaching call, right? Is it this
Yep.
evening?
Yeah, every Wednesday. Yeah, every Wednesday night we do Bright Investor office hours. So anyone can show up and just ask questions or learn more about how to use the tool more effectively. And we announce all of our upgrades there every week, every Wednesday night.
Cool. And then Joel, before we maybe dig into the today's main topic, any update on your wristband kind of income stream thing going on?
Yeah. So one stream away, it's all about, hey, how do you build the life you want to live? The biggest limiting factor that I see for people that want to get ahead and save money and invest is they just don't have the time, right? So people that are getting ahead right now, the people that I'm seeing get ahead are the ones that are putting extra effort towards increase income, save money, and have options to invest. So in July, we're going to be launching the next sprint. It's going to be a 4-week webinar helping people build the habits to increase income. So more to come here later in the week.
Cool. Keep me posted. We'll promote it. We'll get people the information. But yeah, so today, Joel kind of wants to talk about maybe how you can gain a competitive edge in today's market and how I think a lot of people are feeling out there as far as their system is rigged or there's no hope. So Joel, what lead us off on that, man?
Yeah. Real estate obviously is a great tool to build wealth, and either you get it or you don't, right? And the people that do get it, that want to get into it, and maybe they're at the beginning of their journey, you're just getting started. How do you find a competitive advantage right now? When, I see things like, hey, if I'm a wholesaler, if I'm a, big investor, I'm going to go hire VAs overseas and who are making calls and getting all the data, and they're finding off market deals and have all these extra resources to be able to get that competitive advantage. So I'm seeing some of these entities and people doing that kind of stuff. So then kind of taking it back to the everyday investor, what can that person do to get an edge right now in this market where, at least on the residential side of things, we're at all-time lows in the last 30 years in terms of the number of transactions going back and forth between buyers and sellers. But the people that are doing fix and flips and off-market stuff, that stuff is still moving. So I'm just happy to be able to spend time with Donato, seeing, also on the front lines with some of your students and network of what you're seeing work, what's not working in that genre.
Yeah, I think it's perfect we brought Donato on for this. So, I mean, maybe we're primarily focused on real estate and somewhat, but there is a lot of different asset classes out there. But I do feel like a lot of people are struggling, like they're wondering how they're going to make deals work or how to find deals. And I think that's what Donato brings to the table a little bit with Bright Investor. Right? Are you seeing a lot of people coming to you and you helping them find deals out there to make it work, I guess, in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, every person I've been able to work with so far, they've all been on market. So, we've got one person who did a BRRRR as a foreclosure auction deal. We've got other people right now who are buying duplexes in Indianapolis. that are great, great high level. And I mean, what I work with a lot right now are people they work full-time jobs. The time is a little bit restricted. And so the off-market direct to seller approach is a little bit more costly or more time intensive than they expect or would want to do. So I really curated it to say, okay, what's on market we can go after? And honestly, the market right now is a great partner in that, in the sense that with days on market, interest rates, and variety of different things causing properties to sit longer and price cuts to be more prevalent, as long as the interest rate doesn't negatively impact the cash flow too much, we have so much negotiating power to make something happen. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I went under contract on a 51 bed assisted living facility in Pittsburgh for about $1.25 million. That's 80% seller financed on this deal. So we're closing in about 6 weeks, and that'll be a nice long-term hold and should be the first of ideally a dozen acquisitions over the next, say, 2 years. But that opportunity was on market, price cuts, found it, underwrote it, and it made a lot of sense.
Are you going to save a bed there for Joel for the time when he gets old enough to use that facility?
Oh, absolutely. Right in the corner. It's going to be under the stairwell. Have a little Harry Potter hobbit hole for him.
Nice.
We also want to clarify that Donato is not in witness protection, even though he looks like he's sitting somewhere in some halfway home. But he said he just closed on that, or that's your new residence, right? But this is
it's my new house. Yeah, right. So it's in central Missouri, but it's a 5-bed, 4-bath, 3,000 square foot on about 2.5 acres. And so downstairs, I've got my board game den, I've got the cigar lounge, I've got the living room, and all the other rooms are set up, and then my room upstairs is just it's gone to the wayside in terms of furnishing it out. But don't worry, I'm not using my arms are clean, and I'm on step 6 of the program. We're good.
All right.
Well,
So
given that Rolla has like a population of 104 people, so are you and Drew on the same street by chance?
We're about 10 minutes apart. Yeah. So he's in town. And it's like, I know there's like a meth capital of the world is like 2 counties away, but you know what? That's for them to deal with, not for me. I'm by the golf course, so I'm fine.
Nice.
I'll be okay.
All right. So you have a loyal user here. So that Jason C is here. So he uses Bright Investor. He says, Bright Investor gives you a huge edge. I'm super happy with it. And Donato was a huge help in me closing on my last 4-plex property. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Jason went through BI Dime program, and huge credit to Jason. He crushed it. It almost frustrated me a little bit how quickly he was able to get something done. Because one of the first deals we looked at, he's like, "Hey, I found this 4-plex on market. What do you think?" We ran through the numbers. I'm like, "This works." What are you talking about? And so we ran the numbers on it, and the rents were so low in place. Like over the course of about a 1.5 to 2 year renovation period, his rents will go from $1,000 a month to $1,800, which is crazy. Okay. For a 4-plex that was under $400,000. So we just
what market?
Chicago.
In Chicago.
Okay. And it was really cool. So we did the whole thing together. We worked with the contractors, right? We interviewed the contractors. We put the renovation plan. We met with the agents multiple times. We negotiated the deals, put everything together. And what was really cool about the deal, and Jason, I hope you don't mind if I'm sharing too much, that the property was fully occupied by the same family. And so everyone lived in different units. And so we're from a landlord perspective, if you've got young kids there and, childcare and your community is there, we're able to come in, and Jason is doing a great job on the renovation, really doing a whole guts, the top to bottom upgrades for everything. It's been an awesome long-term hold for him, lots of equity. But he's got people who are saying, hey, we're willing to raise, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of his tenants were like, you know what, we're willing to raise the rents $400 to still live here, no problem. It's amazing. And so we have this situation where he's able to raise rents, do renovations. At the end of his in like 2 years, he'll be either going on to new tenants or giving them the opportunity to release at market rate with a freshly rehab building. So it was a really cool opportunity of watching someone who had fallen out of contract like 3 times, the seller of that 4-plex. We got it in the right time, made a right offer, talking through the situation, and we were able to get it work. So really, really cool opportunity.
Before maybe we get into some new features or things that may have been added to Bright Investor, maybe Joel can also touch on, like, from the lending side, like how can people, like you're saying, get a competitive advantage or help themselves put themselves in better position to succeed in kind of this kind of crazy and economic situation that we're in right now.
Well, before I talk about competitive advantages, I mean, the biggest thing is knowing what your starting point is. And I was just talking to somebody who wanted to buy a short-term rental, and my question was, "Hey, how much cash are you working with?" And they didn't have an answer. You can't put a plan together of buying a property, at least in terms of confirming what the financing is going to be, if you don't know how much money you have. Typically you're going to want to have 20 to 25% down as your starting point. And again, there's other creative deal structure that seasoned investors can get into. But if you're just a middle of the road normal investor, you're going to put down 20 to 25% down on a single or even a multi-unit using DSCR. And if you don't have the cash, you're not going to be able to buy a property if you're just getting started. So this person had $15K that they had allotted to buy a house, and they wanted to buy a $300,000 short-term rental, and that just doesn't equate. So the first thing is you got to have a conversation with a professional and just know what you're working with and know what's realistic, because you can have all the dreams in the world, but if you don't have the hardware, the blueprint to make it happen in terms of the cash and the credit, then you got nothing. You got nothing going. So I think.
Actually, just recently, all the BI Diamonds members, students we've been working with, we send to Joel, and Joel's already last week. I think I sent you 3 or 4 last week.
Yeah. So thankful for that for sure. But that's the thing that I love, right? When you're working with somebody who is motivated and determined to go make something happen and prepared, it makes our lives so much easier as a lender, because we're not having to stranglehold somebody to get all the proper documentation. Oh, we lost Donato.
There you go. I'm back. That's what comes living in a halfway house. Stealing your copper, just stealing your lines. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, working with somebody who's motivated and determined to, because real estate, it's all about financial freedom. You're working hard today, sacrificing today to be able to plant seeds, to be able to have more time in the future. So when you're motivated, it makes our life a lot easier as a lender, because we're not trying to stranglehold you to get all the documentation that we need. Now, the thing is that for DSCR, the documentation is much simpler than for a regular residential purchase in terms of tax returns and W-2s, and we don't need that stuff. For DSCR on a rental, bank statements, LLC paperwork, photo ID. If you have experience, maybe we'll confirm that through various things like a copy of a recent lease. But there's not a whole lot of documentation that's required up front.
That's what's great, is because, so the people that we're working with in Diamond, they're all like, hey, we want to buy property. We want to go. We're looking for these opportunities. And, Joel sits there and is able to say, hey, any person that I send his way within 24 hours, he's got them pre-approved. And so for me, it's like I'm able to take people who have the motivation, and I'm able to say, great, let's go ahead and get you with a good product, because everyone wants to buy multiple properties. So we go the DSCR route, right, which is competitive, right? It requires a little bit more of a down payment, but we're also buying properties for under $200,000. And so we're buying these properties. Joel gets them pre-approved, and I think we're going to probably have 2 or 3 offers going out this week that Joel approved for the lending. And so it makes a really good situation where, how do I have a competitive advantage in today's market? Knowing the right lenders, having the right people in place, so that I can move quickly, so that when the right opportunity comes around, it becomes, hey, we already have the property manager, the general contractor, the lender, the insurance, the title company. All those things are pre-done and pre-ready. So as soon as the property comes on market that I like, within 30 minutes, I can say yes, offers out within an hour, and I'm under contract by lunch. Right? That's a huge advantage, and it's all about speed.
Joel is going to request that you're always on with him, because this is the most positive feedback that he's getting from one of the guests on. you are giving. He usually gets so much crap for me, but no, Joel's a great guy, and like you said, yeah, it's speed and working with people you can trust. So that's what we're trying to bring here too. So I know a lot of people in the one rental at a time community do use Bright Investor. I know Chester, Jason, they do show up, and they have kind of like a direct relationship with you also, right? They can email you directly or contact you, right?
Absolutely. Anytime. Most of them show up every Wednesday. Jason's always there. Chester's always there Wednesday nights. And, we announce new features that we're going to do tonight. We have upgrades going out all the time. And so we get their feedback too. Like they get to come in and say, Donato, what if we did this? Like, what could you help me do this faster, better, and easier? And we go, yeah. And so we code that. And it's been really cool.
Where does somebody tune in at?
Yeah. Do you have a link right now, or do you have a link? That
yeah, I do. I can actually share that here in the chat. Let me go ahead and grab that link for you all. But this is
Jason, sorry.
Yeah,
Jason's comment about the binder. As you were telling that story, Donato, I was immediately thinking about, because I heard Dion talk about the binder process with the rents and asking the questions to the tenant. And then Jason just messages that in the chat. So yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. So yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, yes, I just put the link in the chat there for you guys in the private chat. You can take a look at it, but that's a Wednesday nights. Yeah, it's a Zoom call. Every Wednesday, 8:00 Central, where I hop on and I just say, here's everything new that we're doing. Here's a use case we're going to talk about today. So last week was a 10-unit multifamily deal, and today will be something else. And we just help people get more comfortable using the platform and being successful.
Okay, Donato, I have a question for you. So one of the things that I see in my world that prevents people from jumping into the game of real estate, ultimately it's hesitation, it's fear, it's doubt, it's uncertainty, but they don't have the confidence. And the people that get into the game, they've got confidence that it's going to work, and maybe not just short term, but like long term, because you're going to have failures, you're going to have stumbles, and things aren't always going to work out exactly as you plan, especially in the first couple of deals. So with the things that you provide, how do you help people get to that point of having confidence in the whole game, and finding the properties, the rents, the contractors, the management? There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah. So the way that what I've noticed over time is that it's kind of like a pendulum. So when people first meet me and they're talking about they need help, they're the least confident. They're like, Donato, I've tried multiple times. Like, I just can't get into it. I don't know what I don't know. I'm scared. I just want someone to help me make sure that I do this the right way. Then we get into it, and then what happens is the pendulum starts swinging where they get a lot more confident, and they're like, Donato, come on, we're gonna go. Where's my deal? Come on, I'm ready to go. So they get more confident, and then we get to the point where it's time to put the offer in, and they go, should I do it or not? And then all the fear comes back. And so my job is to give them a swift kick in the butt to get them moving. Then my job is to throttle them while they start wanting to go through too quickly and jump on the wrong opportunities. And then when it's time to put the offer in and they get all scared again, my job is to kick you in the butt one more time and say, nope, you did the work, get in there, and throw them in the water. So what that means is the approach I take is very different. It's like the Diamond program isn't something that we publicly advertise like to people outside of Bright Investor. It's something to where it's only available to people who are in the Bright Investor community. And it's something to where I personally interview agents with you. I interview lenders with you. We get on multiple calls. We find the agents that are the right people. I ask the questions on your behalf. I train you what questions to ask. We interview lenders together. I go and find contractors that I recommend for you. We interview them together. We ask the right questions. I review the purchase and sale agreements. We do the deal underwriting together. I help you interview the property management company. So I don't do a lot of videos or content. It is a hand-holding apprenticeship. I'm going to help you in every step of the way personally as we go through this. So when one of our students was buying a foreclosure auction deal, we talked for probably like 3 hours that day on like 5 different phone calls. I'm like, okay, they need the money. What do I do next? Okay, great. My person on the ground is inspecting. What do I do next? Like, hey, they need the money right here. What do I do? And it's just, I'm there, which means I can only help so many people at a certain time, which is the drawback because I can't give everything to 100 people. So maybe 10 to 12 people at a time can I actually give that level of support to. But it's the confidence in knowing that they can always call me and text me, get me on the phone. They can get me on the calendar, which inherently doesn't always scale, but it's not supposed to. And the situation is about to help people. So that really helps people get the confidence to take that leap when they're moving forward.
So Flavio is in Grandview, Washington, and he likes to give us crap for investing in Pittsburgh. He thinks you need a bulletproof vest to invest there. But so I guess he heard about your assisted living. He said, yeah. Donato, a good reason to invest in Pittsburgh? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, so assisted living is a lot different than traditional single family or multifamily investment. With ALF, it's a lot more of a contained ecosystem, right? So people who live there, they pretty much stay there until they, pass away, generally speaking. Their food is already on site, their recreation's on site. It's a whole community in one building. So the need or desire to have a lot of things centrally located around it is not as important as a traditional multifamily or single family investment. At the same time, this property is a lot more suburban. It's a lot more quiet. It doesn't have, because of the nature of being a self-contained ecosystem, I'm able to be further outside the city. And we look at our market, there is hundreds of units. We do an NIC map market study looking for ALF demand for both independent living, assisted living, and memory care units. And we saw there was thousands of unmet units of unmet demand in the submarket with a upper to middle class affluent private pay demographic that we could target for this area. So when we look at that in the specific population growth of 65 to 85-year-olds, we look at the income that they're generating, we look at the savings rates, we look at the fact that Pittsburgh has one of the highest growing caregiver and aid giver labor markets, with actually decreasing wages because the number of people who are going into that industry has actually caused negative downward pressure on wages. So I've got a young, cheap labor pool with a growing population of 65 to 85-year-olds that need this asset with rents that are still affordable in the private pay market, which makes Pittsburgh really attractive. Plus, I'm buying the thing stupid cheap. And when we're at maybe a traditional multifamily, which I still very much like, I'm buying it for $80,000 a door, and I'm going to hope to get $1,200 in rent. I'm buying this for $20,000 a door. I'm going to charge $4,000 a month. So like the margin there is just insane.
Yeah, Flavio. See, I keep telling you.
Yeah, Flavio.
No, Flavio's a good guy though. He might test out Bright Investor. So reach out to Donato. I think he's always looking for ways to find deals. So you kind of touched on it briefly, but maybe like for a competitive advantage, what are the new features that Bright Investor has right now?
Yeah, so one, we just doubled our rent comp database, so we have even more rent comps nationwide. With those rent comps, you can now filter for things like bath count. You can filter for look back, and you can filter for a lot of different criteria on your rentals to make sure you're getting the most accurate rent comps. We have added in on our sale comp feature, you can now add in your own comps. If you find something that you think should be a really good comp and we don't have it, you can manually add it in. We've added a whole lot in our Zapier integration. So our CRM integration, which is in beta but going live here right now. So now Bright Investor can connect to any CRM that you have to send leads directly over, so you can do your marketing campaigns, you can keep track of it. And we're really excited about this upcoming widget that we're doing in about within the month, where anybody can take Bright Investor and put it on your own website. So that's Joel. I think you might be interested in that. So, and Mark, for you as an agent, but you have the Bright Investor account, you can now take a little bit of code, put it on your website, and now anybody can come to Bright Investor from your website. They can type in an address and put in their contact information. They can pull the rent report that's white labeled through Bright Investor for free to you and free to them on directly from your site. And so they get a rent report for a deal, and then the person with the Bright Investor account gets a notification in your CRM saying, hey, this person just pulled a report. Here's your contact info. Do you want to reach out to them? So we've been really, really excited about that because it's a way for, professionals in the space, PMs, agents, lenders to be able to get in contact and provide value to a growing clientele base. So we've been really excited about that, plus about like 100 other tiny tweaks, upgrades, and features that are only cool if you're in it every single day and you're coding everything all the time. But it's been really cool to see the growth there.
Want to say what's up to Stay Winning Podcast. Hugo's here, so go check out his YouTube channel also. I believe he might be at like 5,000 subscribers already, but yeah, go subscribe to him if you haven't. Jason said, yeah, he's going to reach out to Joel for his next purchase. Joe said, yeah, nationwide he lends to. So anyone out there working on a deal, reach out to Joel. Anyone going to FinCon? Hugo's asking, in Portland this September.
No.
Are you going to be at the Bigger Pockets event, Donato? Probably, right?
Maybe. I went in 2023. I didn't go in 2024. I'm I'm not even sure where it is this year, 2025. Where is it at?
It is in Vegas, and Dion is actually one of the, what is it called? One of the speakers, keynote speakers. Yeah,
Keynotes? Nice.
yeah.
Okay, I might go. I got some travel upcoming, so we'll see if I end up making it. But I've really slowed down my conference attendance. As a attendant, I've been speaking at conferences. So I was in Florida about 3 weeks ago. Spoke to about 300 people on commercial multifamily, and should be speaking in Greece in 3 months or so from now at another event. So those I'm going to, but the attendance on the schedule's been slammed. So I do a lot of virtual things, a lot of webinars, a lot of virtual meetups and things like that, which I'm always happy to do.
Yeah, I did see that. So what was the Greece? I saw you. It was like some kind of group or
Yeah.
yeah. So what was in Greece, or what's going to be in Greece?
Yeah, so a student of mine is hosting basically kind of a mastermind accelerator program in Greece at his business partner's boutique hotel. So basically the plot of Mamma Mia. But there is a boutique hotel there, and we're going to spend about 5 days working together, basically doing very niche, tight-knit, small group, hands-on acceleration in both business and entrepreneurship and real estate, both residential, commercial, multifamily. And I'm going to be the keynote speaker there, just pouring everything that I can into people that are talking about what you need to do if you want to go into the residential, commercial, or assisted living space, or see, I saw the crack particles that are floating there around here. I'm allergic. Right. So it's something that we've been really excited about, and it's going to be happening in about 2 or 3 months in October, and we'll be out there for a couple of days while also doing like a private yacht tour with a chef, going on food and wine tours in local Greece, and being able to combine the leisure and business at the same time. So I'm really pumped.
Awesome. Yeah. So Hugo says, yeah, FinCon is like 25% the price of Bigger Pockets. Yeah. So the Dion folks are joking that they're going to have a LobbyCon in Vegas they're going to have an event inside the lobby for free. People don't want to hang out in the lobby and connect and meet each other in person. But let's kind of maybe get back a little bit. We're talking about competitive advantage, and Donato's doing deals out there. Joe's lending to these people. So people are winning out there, right? And we got to stay winning here. But Joe, like, do you feel maybe people just feel hopeless out there? Like they don't have a chance, like maybe the American dream is dead?
100%. 100%. I mean, the people who are investing in real estate, right, they're in a different level of either goals or wealth or mindset, job, income, whatever. People, I mean, there's a stat that came out, I forget what's a bank rate maybe or whatnot from 2024, that over 50% of Americans don't have $1,000 saved for emergency or for whatever reason. So, I mean, obviously the cost of living has gone up so much in the last 4 or 5 years. The damage is already done. Even if inflation is down now, income is still flat over the last 5-6 years. Cost of living's up. People are struggling to be able to get ahead. So from a whole, the masses, I mean, people are struggling to be able to pay bills, let alone save and invest. So that's one of the reasons why I keep talking about income streams and focusing time each day, each week on building income, because that time you spend is exponential, right? If you focus time on cutting and budgeting, that time you put in, there's only a limit of the return you're going to get in that time. So that aside, right? I mean, if you're talking about people that are investing in real estate, after coming out of COVID, prices went up 25% in a short period of time. Now prices are roughly flatlining. I think 22 to 24, the median average price is 419 to 422, something flat like that. So is real estate, is it still a place to be putting your disposable savings and assets? Is that the right place to invest? That's a question that I get a lot. Does it make sense to invest in real estate? I think we all have our own opinions about that. But I'll stop there. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I would say that we have a lot of people who would have gone through kind of the Bigger Pockets funnel of, I'm interested in real estate and I would really want to build wealth and I want to be able to deploy some capital, find creative ways to work. And that really worked, I'd say 2016 to 2020. And you had a lot of people who really kind of go all in. But we've seen so much uncertainty thrown into the markets between either inflationary pressures, COVID, interest rate and increases, then recently tariff potentially, and then also global conflict. We're even very relevant right now, and people are consistently shifting to, I think, a less risk and low risk. And when people have fear, they tend to cement their behaviors and habits, and they're not willing to kind of deviate for anything that might be beneficial for them in the long term. And even though we talk about it so often, as soon as people get fearful, they stay fearful. When we have the most well-known investing quote of all time, that you should get greedy when other people are fearful. Every single time I talk to someone in today's market, they're like, well, what if something changes? What if home prices go down? What if interest rates? What if, a lot of what if questions here. I'm like, dude, this is the time. It's right here on the wall. You can't just follow this advice when the market's roaring and you're like, you got to be good when the market's going up. You got to be aggressive, and still got to be diligent as soon as the market's not doing great as well. Like, buying opportunities exist for a reason. And the same thing 10 years from now, that we're going to sit back and say, wow. And I'll be blunt as well. I'm 25, right? I'm younger end of the spectrum for real estate investors. Do you know how much it pisses me off when I see people who are talking about buying a fourplex and they're like, oh, it's too expensive, or, oh, it looks kind of cheap for me right now, or I'm not sure if I should do it. And I look at the fourplex that they were looking to buy, and just 5 years ago, it was selling for 180 grand, and now it's 320. It is infuriating to me, because I look at people who are much further along in life than I am. I'm like, you had fourplexes for $180,000 in great areas for good interest rates, and you didn't pull the trigger. And now we have to go out there at a triple the interest rate at double the price today and make it work. I want to smack them around a little bit. Like, you have no idea how good you had it. And I was in freaking algebra and I couldn't buy that property. And had I been there at that time, right, I would have tore it up. And so I have to bully people a little bit. Like, you need to get off your butt and get out there right now, because this is not changing. The supply across the United States is still under by 4 million units, right? We still have situations where prices are going to continue to go up. Maybe not as quickly, maybe not everywhere, but they're still going to go up over time. And you are losing your window. You are losing your window to get in, because Joel pointed out, incomes are flat over the last 5 years. That ratio of in-place income to in-place home prices is going to continue to widen. And everyone out there, the biggest competitive advantage people need to have is getting off their butt and having speed in their analysis and their pursuit of these opportunities. Because you can't go back to 2018. You can't go back to 2013. You can only sit here and say 2025. I don't want to be sitting in the same situation in 2030. That's what grinds my gears. So that's my soapbox moment today.
So what you're saying is fear, right?
Yes, fear. So much fear in the marketplace, and it's driving everything. And people need to sit back and take a second and recognize that fear is what puts dollars in the pockets of the people who choose to set it aside and power through regardless.
There was a Redfin article that came out recently talking about, way more 500,000 more sellers than buyers, and a lot of fear mongering type of things. And then, obviously sellers and listings, you can quantify that, but how do you quantify buyers? And this whole article about what's going on in different markets and sellers, and it's a buyer's market and blah blah blah. And then at the bottom. Actually, I have it pulled up here. It says, because there is not a similar metric measuring how many buyers are actively in the market, we developed one. They just created their own metric out of thin air, and I won't bore you with the details. But it's just some random metric they created out of thin air to be able to show the imbalance between buyers and sellers, which it's probably out there. It's probably a fact, because properties are sitting longer.
Sure.
But yeah, just fear mongering out there from different angles.
I think my opinion here is that the best metric I think you could probably get for who's a true buyer is how many pre-approvals have been secured in the last 4 weeks. So if I go out there and I say how many pre-approvals for individual properties, right, were garnered in the last 4 weeks. So not how many people clicked show a tour on Zillow, not how many applications, not how many things of that nature, right? How many people got a pre-approval, or how many offers were submitted in the last 4 weeks? Okay, great. If you got a pre-approval, you're probably serious. Right? Mm-hmm. More often than not. If you are sending an offer, great. How many offers were collected this month? That's how many buyers you have out there. Because anyone who's not actually putting an offer in, not getting a pre-approval, not a real buyer.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, someone was sending me a TikTok reel. I don't know if anyone remembers Tampa Bree, who was on here a few weeks ago, but Mikey Taylor was doing a kind of reel on her saying that, this is what you got. She's funny, this is how she's selling homes. But yeah, so go check her out. She's doing some funny stuff on Instagram, TikTok. So Tampa Bree's killing it out there. But yeah, Donato, so it also sounds like, right, like you working on something in Pittsburgh, you're going to Greece, you're kind of all over the place as far as market seems like. So
Yeah.
would you advise, so we've been having this discussion about people doubling down in the markets they're in, even though it may be getting expensive because they already have systems in place, or maybe pivoting to go out of state. So maybe you can give people your thoughts on, why you're in multiple markets, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer that real estate should be played on a national level, right? The country is your playing board, your game board. And people who are even further ahead than I am would tell you that real estate's an international game. They're like, oh, we're going to deploy into Croatia for recently, or now we're going to deploy in Australia. There's different levels to it. But if you're living in Southern California, if you are in Central Florida, if you are in, New York City, I'm probably not going to tell you to go buy a property there. I am always a huge proponent of primary and secondary Midwestern markets that have at least 10 to 15% of the market be 2 to 4 family units. I'm talking spots like Des Moines, Kansas City, St. Louis. I'm talking Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton. I'm talking spots in Omaha. I'm talking Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville. I'm talking anywhere of the Midwest Mississippi corridor. Reason for that, right, is simply I love 2 to 4 family brick built buildings that are going to be there 100 years from now, that you can buy them for between $60,000 and $80,000 a door. They're going to rent for over $1,000 a unit when you're done, that you can get into, and that'll cash flow at least $1,000 a month, even at 7% interest rates. And when you refi down to a 3 or 4 in a couple of years from now, you're going to be making $1,500, $2,000 a month easy. And you're going to hold those things for the next 25 years, and you're going to thank me later. I tell them all the time. And I also point out, when I was out of college, I had a job in DC, and I had to call them and say, I will not accept this job in DC. I need you guys to transfer me to St. Louis, where I know nobody, because I want to go somewhere where I could probably own or occupy a property that makes sense. So I uprooted my life, and I was like, I'm just going to roll the dice on St. Louis because I know the market there has it. And now my fourplex that I bought there was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life. That fourplex pays for itself and pays for my entire new house. It's great, right? I took the rents from $400 to $1,300. It is so important to be where the opportunity is. And so I'm going to be a huge proponent of go where the deals are. If you have the capacity to relocate to a market where you can own or occupy, do 3 or 4plex, you should do it. And of course, that's when people tell me like, okay, my job is here, my spouse is here, my kids are here, they won't want them to do that. I'm like, okay, just to be clear, that is a choice. And people don't always like, if I need to be less controversial, let me know, and I'll while it back. But it is always a choice. And I'm not saying they're easy choices. They are hard choices. But ultimately, the choice to not move or invest outside your state or invest elsewhere or make a decision that is better for your family or personal future health is a choice that you're making. So I never want to hear to someone's mouth like, oh, I can't do that. Like, no, you can, but it's going to be hard. And when you say I can't, you are subconsciously already making the choice that you're not willing to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but don't be surprised when someone else chooses to make that choice, and don't come, to that person's face, and say, wow, it must have been nice to be able to do that. You could have, you chose not to. So again, to Ash's comment, I have to bully people. Yeah, I do. I have to bully people sometimes and say, if you have a lot of money already saved up and you can afford to put 25% down out of state, great, stay where you're at, let's do it. But if you've got nothing set up and you've got a little bit of cash and you've got, you're just getting started and you're trying to be yourself the best possible leg up, move where the opportunity is, because you've got nothing holding you back besides your preconceived notions and your fear.
So Joe, people reaching out to you, are you seeing them doubling down more in their markets that they're in, or are they looking to pivot because maybe areas they do invest in the numbers aren't working anymore? So they're trying to find a different market.
Yeah, I mean that's just my network is a mix of coasts, both coasts, and then the Midwest. So I'm seeing it from both angles. I mean, definitely people in California, Washington, East Coast buying in the Midwest, or I got a lot of people that are looking in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina as well. That out of state type of mentality that you guys talk about on your channel, Mark. And then I've got people that are younger that are doubling down. They're in their 20s or 30s, and they don't have a family built up, and they're house hacking. They're buying the next one, turning the old one into rental. So I see both of that. And you know, Donato, you're 25. In your world, you know, what's stopping somebody that you know from getting into the game and house hacking? What, you know, in your network or your, you know, people you come across, what's stopping or preventing that 20-something-year-old to get into the game? Because I got my own thoughts about the fundamentals of the market, and that's for maybe later. But what's stopping someone from getting in?
Oh, I can't believe I'm about to say this right now, and you're gonna have it recorded, so I'm not gonna be able to say I didn't say it at some point in time. The kids these days don't really want to work that hard. I mean, what can I tell you? It is what I find most often is that people have almost a collective belief that things aren't going to get better. What that means is I've seen an over prioritization of comfort, luxury, and higher spending habits in today's marketplace to basically, in a faux reality, supplant what they should be building towards in 5 to 10 years, and basically bring their high earning mid 30s to mid 40s high income years, you know, spending what they can to today's reality, because they don't think it's worth it to put the time and money away to go ahead and wait for the future. So what that turns into is, oh my gosh, I have to, right out of college, be renting the $1,800 a month, nice 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in the nice part of town. I have to be doing this much travel. I'm going to prioritize these trips with friends. And the people take this 20s decade of freedom and they use it to saddle themselves with liabilities or things they perceive they're supposed to have that makes them feel like they're progressing in life. So that's why we see the over monetization, in my opinion, of brand new apartment complexes built after 2015, where there is a restaurant, there is your massage parlor, offices, gym, pools, grills, like all the things you could ever need in a community. Because what it gives tenants is the feeling like they have their own house, they have their own property that provides them these luxuries without having to spend the 10 to 15 years it takes to actually do it. It's a false sense of reality, but it's attractive and it only costs $1,800 a month. So people get sucked in. And then what that does is that proverbial golden handcuff of, in order for me to actually build wealth, I need to either A, earn more income, which Joel's already pointed out is very difficult for a lot of people to start doing when they don't know how to do it, or they need to decrease their lifestyle. And when your first apartment out of college was super nice, luxury A class, and you're doing these trips with your friends because you're not married, you don't have kids, it is so jarring on a personal and emotional level to give that up that it becomes this chasm they're not willing to cross. My opinion, in order for people to be successful, there has to be a very intentional restriction of luxury early on. People need to have more grit and they're going after it. And they need to have a belief that things can get better if they're willing to put in the time and effort now. And if you don't believe any of those things, don't have those things, you're not going to go forward.
That's why you sat in that room today, right? You have that background.
Yes.
So you have this halfway home looking house in your background, but like to your point, right? That you're saying people have to make sacrifice. And what do you say? You're 26 now?
25.
Right? 20. Shit, when did we first meet then? You're like 21?
I was probably 22. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just reminding her out there, like how young or old or whatever you want to look at, but how Donato is and what he's doing out there and the sacrifices he's making, right? So like we have Steven tuning in. He's a young individual. He's in Canada, but he's looking to invest in the States. And one of his last messages, he also said he's maybe even thinking of moving to the States just because how difficult it is in Canada to, to buy real estate, or, the financing and the struggles they have. So he is looking to invest in the States. And yeah, like he's basically doing what you're saying. I'm making these choices for the future, right?
Do it. Absolutely. Go move yourself to opportunity. There's no reason not to. And the thing is, okay, you know what? We're gonna get spicy today, guys. This is where I like to unleash all the things that are in my brain, right? The number of adults who I've spoken with who have never done anything entrepreneurial, business, or real estate, right? And I talk to them about all the things that I was doing, like, oh, I'm gonna house hack, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm doing that. All of them say, yeah, wish I would have done that. Wish I'd taken the time. Wish I did that before I was married. Wish I'd done it before I had kids. All of those different comments come up because they recognize it is so much harder to do that at the situation they have. And this period of time when people have freedom, you either have the freedom to spend or the freedom to save and invest. And 99% of people take the freedom of their youth to spend and experience, as opposed to taking that freedom to, I have no one relying on me. I can make as many sacrifices as I want that have no impact on anybody else besides me, and I'm willing to bear that cost. Your youth and your ability to sacrifice those things, switch those cities, go all in, is what gets you there. It is so powerful. So, Steven, if you're listening here, do it. Pull the trigger. Make it happen.
So before Joel magically disappeared because his computer restarted, but we were saying Steven, who's in Canada, is looking to invest in the States, or even one of his last messages to me is he's even maybe thinking about moving here. But back to Donato's point, right? He's making that choice to better his future, right? It's a hard move. I mean, but it's something he's really considering to put his future in the forefront, right? Do you guys want to stick on this topic? Do you guys have more you want to talk about it, or do you kind of want to dig into a little bit of the tenant expectations you were kind of going to touch on also?
Well, there's just one more thing I want to dig into, but go ahead.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of working remote, right? I use the term, if you work remote and you want to invest in real estate, you're a free agent. You can literally pick up your life just like Donato did and go anywhere. And
yes.
Now that you can do a multi-family and do 5% down on a conventional loan, as opposed to the old rules of having to put 25% down on a multifamily, you could literally rinse and repeat this over and over. And I've got somebody that's doing this. And, I have one guy who worked IT. Well, he still works IT, but he was working 2 different full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Things going, and kind of overemployed type of mindset. And he was just stockpiling cash, like cash on cash on cash. And he bought 4 houses in 4 years, North Carolina, and then Houston. And then he pulled the foot off the gas pedal after he planted his seeds. But the whole multifamily thing, because FHA, you can only have one FHA loan at a time, 3.5% down, 4 doors, live in one unit, rent out the other ones. And then if you want to buy the next multifamily, you're limited because you can only have one FHA loan at a time. Now you can do, I think this is August or November of 2023 that they put in the conventional rule. So now you can buy the next property, multifamily, live in one unit, put 5% down. And then what's cool about conventional is that you can use leases to offset the departure residence rents. So you can continue to rinse and repeat. And I've got people that are on that path, and being able to pick up your life and do it in a different market makes it, simpler potentially.
Yes, absolutely. Being able to do the 5% was fantastic. That rule change was huge. But I think that does really lend well to the topic I wanted to talk into about tenant expectations, because recently, I had my fourplex. I've had it for a couple of years, and I made offers on about 4 others. I got under contract on 2 of them, fell out because of different things for the property itself, needing a new roof and such of that nature. But I was looking for my next one. I was looking for my next, making offers, offering a 10-unit seller finance, more fourplexes. And I was making offers where the numbers made sense. And I had to actually step back for a second. I said, you know what? What most people do is they overextend themselves, buying a lot of properties very quickly that are cheap or need a lot of work, and they're not actually great assets. Like, what makes more sense is taking the money that I was going to go ahead and put off. I was going to go put into a new asset and upgrading the one I have. because that way I can get to more rent and I'm not stuck with two assets that both need work. So what I just did is I just cleaned, I painted, I installed central air conditioning in my fourplex. I'm putting all new exterior doors, electronic keypads on it. I'm doing all this work on it. I'm dropping basically 30 grand on upgrading this property that I could have used for my next down payment for sure. But tenant expectations have shifted because of what I just talked about, people not willing to go through a period of, not luxury. So over time, youth, and when I say youth, I mean anyone from age 21 to 35, really. There is a level of expectations where no matter what happens, and I know some people are going to disagree with me here, but like dishwasher is not necessarily a necessity. When I lease to people who are over the age of 55, they're like, oh, it has a dishwasher? Wow, that's amazing. When I lease to somebody who's 22, they're like, what do you mean there's no dishwasher? This is unlivable. Pass. Mm-hmm. Even in St. Louis, most old buildings don't have central air conditioning. They just don't have them because it was built so long ago. But even if you have luxury, nice window units, people who are older are saying, oh, yeah, no problem. You got window units in here, not a problem. Like younger people, no central air conditioning. What is this? Like a prison? Absolutely not. And so tenant expectations have shifted. More amenities, more conveniences, more things of that nature. And so what I found was, look, I can either choose to keep my property condition it is and narrow my tenant pool, or I can go try to buy another, or I can go ahead and renovate this property, add the new doors, add the central air conditioning, add the better kitchens, and make this property exceptionally desirable so I can always lease it out at nicer levels to longer term tenants. And so I just had 3 vacancies happen. I've got 3 leases coming in. In 48 hours, ready to rock. All people want to be there for 4 to 5 years. Great. And so that is what I've found is with tenant expectations shifting towards a highly amenitized, it's not in our interest to fight it. It is in our interest to support it in the sense of from a landlord perspective. So upgrading our properties to be able to serve a better clientele, because the amount of people who are willing to go through those less amenitized or less luxurious living quarters are passing away. They are getting older. They're not moving around as much. So we have a demographic that wants those things. So we need to be able to support it and supply units to those people and think about, is it better for me to have 5 properties that only people over 55 want access to, or 2 properties that I can rent to anybody 21 to 55 in a heartbeat that I can charge higher rent for? And for me, I want the best properties ever. I don't need a huge, massive portfolio, hundreds of doors. Even though I have a couple hundred doors, I don't need that. That's not my goal isn't to get the 5,000 or 10,000 doors. My goal is to have a very efficient portfolio of in the dozens to hundreds level. These properties are as optimized as they possibly can be with the best upgrades, with the best everything I can to make sure that I, one, have less turnover, I can charge more rent, and I have fewer issues. But with what we've seen in tenant expectations, because in my opinion, changed the calculus for a lot of people, including myself.
Are you able to quantify the rent increase?
Yeah. So with the upgrades that I'm doing, and honestly, the rent increase, I didn't increase any of the rents for the work that I just did. For me, the ROI was the number of days it takes me to get a unit leased and the quality of tenant I was getting. So for me, I was getting people who had multiple felonies, bankruptcies, collections, lower credit scores, folks who were like they needed a chance, and I was having issues with that. And the second that I put in those things in, I've got multiple people who work at the local universities, stellar credit scores. Donato, I want to be here for 5 years. Well, they're like, Donato, I want to rent here until I get to buy my house in 4 or 5 years. I'm like, perfect. So instantly, I'm not charging them more rent. Will I get my rent bumps in later? Yes. And I'm probably going to get, extra $50 to $100 a month as we go forward. But I have to keep in mind the income growth is not as high. So for me, the ROI is not getting in the highest rents possible right now. It's getting the most qualified tenants with the longest possible tenureship to decrease my vacancy and decrease my overhead as a landlord when it comes to the maintenance requests and having to be intentionally involved in the property itself.
Which frees up more time to put offers on the properties.
Exactly. And so I love buying fourplexes. I want to buy like 4 more. Right? Good fourplexes, but I'm very specific in what I buy, right? I know exactly what I want. And if it's not that, I'm not pulling the trigger on it. but I want to buy 4 or 5 more. I want to go buy the 10 assisted living facilities in the next 2 years. And that's probably gonna maybe a 50 unit at some point in time in the future, but that's probably going to be my portfolio. And I'm just going to hold those. And by the time, and ride that out for the next couple of decades. But I don't need every property. I just need the right ones.
And then you can just be a full-time bully.
Yes. Now I can be a full-time bully.
But it looks like it worked because Steven says, man, I needed to hear that.
That's what I'm here for, Steven.
Yeah.
And it's always from a good place. And it's always from a advocating. Like, my goal is to be the little devil on your shoulder who's saying, what do you have to lose? Go. Just go. And it works. People need that.
Yeah, so I told Steven, check out Bright Investor. I think it would be helpful in him evaluating deals and finding deals and whatnot. But I think we touched on it last time, Joe. Joe, do you have anything about the tenant stuff first? Like tenant expectations or your thoughts on that? This would be actually a great topic. I'm going to bring it up with Dion. Because Dion doesn't provide like washer dryers for his tenant. He only provides the hookup, things like that. So interesting. We'll have a discussion on that too.
Yeah, with my journey, the majority of the stuff that I've owned, I've always had property managers, whether it be long-term or short-term rents. Because in my world, I'm in sales. I'm in commission-based job. I'm always working on that. I don't have the time or capacity or desire to really want to self-manage. So to Donato, what's your advice to someone when they're interviewing property managers and deciding and all that process?
I would say that you need to ask them a question on what are their fees? Are the maintenance in-house or third party? What are the minimum deposits they require for a per unit basis for like daily repairs? What kind of upcharges do they have on their maintenance guys? What kind of contract do they charge you? Do they do Section 8 and affordable and market rate tenants, or only one or the other? And do they do any project management in-house, or do they not handle any renovations? And what is their leasing and marketing strategy? And what's their current average occupancy across their portfolio? And that tells me a lot about what I need to know before I move forward with somebody.
Cool.
Steven has a question for you, Donato. Says, when are you planning to? Well, I'm gonna quickly answer for Donato and see if it's accurate. But he can.
Okay.
No. But Steven's asking, when are you planning to retire, Donato, or on track to? And I'm gonna say, by listening to Donato, he is never gonna be retired. He's always gonna be doing something. But he's definitely on track for whatever his financial freedom number is. But I don't ever see Donato being retired. He's always going to have his hands involved in something.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I retired from the Department of Defense when I was a geospatial analyst for them. I retired from that almost 2 years ago now. But then I'm doing my software company in real estate full time. And if I work less than 13 hours a day, I'm like, wow, look at all this free time. Oh my gosh, I'm so bored. What do I do? And so it's the kind of thing where as soon as Bright Investor continues to grow, if that gets sold off someday, if the portfolio grows, I'm probably going to get into clean energy or public transportation or conservation easements and mitigation banking. I just know myself well enough. I'm probably going to get one of those industries, and I'll tinker with that for a while. But it's going to be something where I tell myself I'm going to take a year off when I'm all done. Like, I know I'm just done, and then I'll do that for a couple of months, and I'm going to go, let's go to the next thing. And the thing is, my team now, my company now, all the people inside are like, okay, Donato, Bright Investor is going great. We're awesome. But for the next company, we want to do this. And I'm like, I got people knocking on my door saying, hey, when it's time for the next one, let me know. I want to get involved. So we'll sneak. But Mark, I think you're right. I'm never going to truly retire. It's going to be a never-ending game.
Ash is asking. I've never seen Ash here, so thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe and like so you can check out all the content and get notified. But Donato, I think you mentioned one of your deals was seller finance. How do you connect with motivated sellers?
Sure. Expired listings, properties that have been on the market for over 60, 90, or 120 days, contacting them and doing a seller financing. Those are the best people to go after or folks who have a long-term tenureship over 20 years. And I will use, BI has free skip tracing, so I'll use that to get in touch with them. I will go on probably sites like Trulia, Redfin, or Zillow, find properties with long-term holds or LoopNet, and contact the agent, and then get in contact with them at that point in time, and then put them on a follow-up. a lot of people say no up front, and you talk to them for the next 3 or 4 months. They go, well, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
You did say BI, and maybe Ash hasn't been listening the whole time, but maybe they're not sure what BI is. So can you maybe dig into that a little bit?
Yeah, BI is my software company, Bright Investor, for deal analysis and deal sourcing for on and off market. So it offers free skip tracing and free phone numbers, email addresses, and mailing addresses for owners of properties. So you can get in there and you can contact people.
Yep. So Ash, if you're still there, there's the Bright Investor link on Instagram. You can go check it out. You can always reach out to Donato, get more information. I think is there still a trial period that people can get access to?
Yeah, there is on the website. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
The whole skip tracing process, it's a numbers game, right? Like how many off-market expired listings do you have to reach out to be able to connect to somebody, the actual seller?
My personal experience, 1 in 24 properties that I reach out to becomes a good lead, and 1 in 25 of those leads close. Now, some of the top, that's in the commercial space. Some of the top residential, anywhere between 30 to 50 leads will close. So that means talking to enough people that, hey, look, I'm actually interested in talking to you. Let's discuss it. That's a lead. When you have 30 to 50 interested people, you'll close 1 deal. So and your conversion rate to a lead might be 20% if you're doing really well. So at that point, you pretty much got to talk to 150 to 300 people to get 30 to 50 leads to close 1. And then I'm not just talking about talking to them once. That might be, I'm talking to all these people for 5 months on a drip campaign. My first ever deal came from a woman who said, sign me the contract. I'll sign today. I did. She said that she ghosted me for 4 months. I texted her on Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. And when her adult son pissed her off enough, she's like, all right, Donato, I'm going to sell the house and get his butt out of there. I'm like, all right, great. So I followed up with her for 4 months, and she signed a contract. But same seller, same buyer, same price, same everything, different emotional situation.
That's awesome. I forgot. So the Zoom link that I just shared, that is for tonight, right?
Correct. That's for tonight at 8 o'clock.
All right. So Ash, Steven, if you guys want to check it out, there is a Zoom link for the Bright Investor. Donato will be there answering questions, so go check it out. Yeah, this was a good one. Always good to get you on, Donato, man. Like I said, man, you bring the fire, man. So it's good. Anything else you guys want to wrap it up with, or anything, or?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the time and looking forward to seeing people get out there and actually take some action, make some radical changes, and make it happen.
Mark, one more thing from Donato. Back to the 25-year-old, 28-year-old. You talked about that generation doesn't want to work hard. I mean, there's a massive opportunity for people then that age. You've got lots of apartment complexes being built. This is a generation of renters. That's what we're building, right? So people that own a fourplex, imagine how easy it's going to be to find 3 renters. Maybe it's your friends. Do you know anybody in their 20s that's hungry, kind of following the footsteps of the house hack world? Are you seeing people in your network go down that similar path that you did?
To be frank, I'm not out with a lot of other people my age very often. So my pool of people is more restricted to people who are already doing things like that. Most people are not. It is something where when you're in the right rooms, right conferences, things of the nature, you start to realize how small the world really is. It can feel big, like, wow, everyone in this room is doing big things, but reality is very few people actually are. So I could maybe think of like 3 people that I know that are young going after these things the same way that I was, or wanting to. But still, the jury's still out whether they'll actually get it done. Because talk does not impress me. Show me some action. What'd you do? And then that's where you really earn my respect. Like, can you? If you were mute, if I sewed your mouth shut, would I be able to tell what your goals are from your actions?
Steven's asking 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. What did you say?
Central.
Central, Steven. Okay. Flavio's going to try and join, looks like. Hey, Joe V. Oh, good. We're turning off just in time for Joe V to tune in, so you can't make any trouble. But Joe V, thanks for tuning in, man. But Donato, I think my maybe competitive advantage for people would be kind of get in the right rooms. You know, that's the biggest thing. Like kind of what you touched on. Like you know, you're not really hanging around people your age in a sense, but you're around people that are doing it. And even like jumping on these calls, these live streams, like Steven's here, trying to network. I think that's the biggest competitive advantage you can get is just putting yourself in the area, being around other people that are doing it.
Yeah, you got nothing to lose. Just show up and do it. When I got started, I went to people who knew what they were doing. I didn't know anything. I asked a bunch of dumb questions. And all I asked them was, "What do you hate doing in this industry?" "Oh, I hate doing lead prospecting." "Okay, great. I'll do that for you." And then I kept showing up. I did it over and over and over again. And they were like, "You're not going away, are you?" I'm like, "Nope." And that got me my first 172 unit complex, $16 million.
All right. I love it, man. Yeah, I love it. So thanks for doing this. We'll get you guys back on again. And if anyone, try to check out Donato tonight on Bright Investor and reach out to Joel if you guys got any properties you're looking at.